tune you're now hearing was composed by Jim McGuinn in 1966. I recorded this version, Hey, Mr. Spaceman, in January of 2015 after watching a UFO documentary series on Netflix. I found the series unconvincing. For one main reason, as an amateur astronomer, I'd never seen anything inexplicable in the sky. But that doesn't mean I'm right. As a kid, I loved reading sci-fi and watching space movies. I have no conceptual problem with the notion that life is everywhere in the universe. In fact, I have no problem with intelligent life being most everywhere too. I do have a problem with the distances between the stars. Sure, the occasional visitor might come our way, but not in numbers reported by ufologists. If you've seen Star Trek First Contact, you know that a Vulcan starship just happened to be passing by when Stephen Cochrane took his first warp speed flight. Yep, that's how I see it. But hey, what do I know? In fact, how does anyone really know anything? And that's what this Golden Phoenix Publish special is really about. Let's say that there really is such a thing as truth. And that truth somehow reflects reality. So, okay, truth and reality are somehow reciprocal. So how do you arrive at truth reality? We all have what is known as a worldview. When it comes to ET, that worldview could be wrong. But let's assume that somehow our worldview can be made more truly realistic. For our worldview to become more truly realistic, we first have to junk the stuff we think is right but is actually wrong. We also have to add stuff that we think is wrong but is actually right. In this way, our worldview both expands and contracts at the same time. But can we ever come to know everything about everything in this way? I doubt it. But maybe we can come to know enough true stuff that we can get good at distinguishing between what is true and what's not. Is there a way that we can get good at knowing the difference between the true and the false? Some say science, others say faith. Some say philosophy, others say practical success. Imagine blending science with religion into a type of philosophy that is practically successful and generally useful. And just how would you do that? Won't you please take me along for a ride? Start by questioning authority. Then see if you can make any sense of what is about to follow.
You might call this a map of truth. Truth starts out a long way from physical reality. Physical reality is based on what we see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. Our sensations feed into what we might call the the psyche. Our psyches are also fed by what we are taught by others.
Mr. Perry, will you read the opening paragraph of the preface entitled Understanding Poetry?
Understanding Poetry by Dr. J. Evans Pritchard, Ph.D. To fully understand poetry, we must first be fluent with its meter, rhyme, and figures of speech. Then ask two questions. One, how artfully has the objective of the poem been rendered? And two, how important is that objective? Question 1 rates the poem's perfection. Question 2 rates its importance.
They are also fed into by what we feel in terms of beliefs.
Good morning, church. Good morning. Listen, if you have your Bible, say, got it. Got it. Good. James chapter 1. This is what the Bible says. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, knowing that the trying of your faith, the testing of your faith develops perseverance in your life. And we should allow perseverance to have her work in our life because God uses that to complete us and to mature us.
We learn best when something actually gets our attention.
Excrement. That's what I think of Mr. J. Evans Pritchard. We're not laying pipe. We're talking about poetry. How can you describe poetry like American Bandstand? Well, I like Byron. I give him a 42, but I can't dance to it. Now, I want you to rip out that page. Go on. Rip out the entire page. You heard me. Rip it out.
Faith works best when we're motivated by others to get involved.
Babe, I got a question.
What's up?
Have you considered, taking that walk of faith during the altar call?
Babe, I ain't gonna lie to you.
What?
I'm still trying to figure this whole thing out. I mean, I know there's a God and I'm supposed to act a certain way and everything, but to be real, babe, I'm still researching this whole salvation thing. I mean, I just want to dive into it. Does that make any sense?
If there's a break between what we've been taught and what we believe, Houston, we've got a problem.
But then I get to thinking, if God is this all-loving, all-seeing, all-being God, then why does he allow things to happen like rape, murder, war? That part I don't understand, babe.
I see you clearly have been giving this a lot of thought.
We'll tend to swing one way, then another. The difference between what we feel and think might just settle out over time.
Well, how did it make you feel?
To be honest, I don't know. It's a lot to swallow, babe.
Or later events could force the issue.
Good. I'm glad you're here. Because we got some serious issues to talk about. First of all, you took my mother from me. And that just about killed me. But I kept my mouth shut and let that one slide. I've done some bad things to people for a lot less. But I've been trying to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could learn things in a way where thinking and feeling we're not at odds with one another?
This is a battle, a war, and the casualties could be your hearts and souls. Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Armies of academics going forward, measuring poetry. No, we will not have that here. No more of Mr. J. Evans' pictures. Now, my class, you will learn to think for yourselves again. You will learn to savor words and language. No matter what anybody tells you, words and ideas can change the world. Now, see that look in Mr. Pitt's eye?
But once we're stuck in our ways, we could be challenged to change.
Despite the age of these paintings, they are technically very sophisticated.
Because of the shading and the thickness of the lines as it moves over the hump of the bison. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly right. Next slide. This one you are probably less familiar with. It was discovered by archaeologists
In 1879, Lascaux, France, dates back to 10,000 BC, singled out because of the flowing lines depicting the movement of the animal.
And once we do change, it might just be possible to help others change as well.
slide. Contemporary art.
No, that's just an advertisement.
Quiet. Today you just listen. What will the future scholars see when they study us? A portrait of women today? There you are, ladies.
Later still, events may create circumstances that test our resolve to keep moving forward.
Maybe I can drop by next year. Keep you on your toes. You will be here, Miss Watson.
Dear Betty, I came to Wellesley because I wanted to make a difference. But to change for others
is to lie to yourself.
Once we get our act together as a thinking, feeling, perceptive person, new opportunities may present themselves for exploration.
Agent Scully, thank you for coming on such short notice. Please. We see you've been with us just over 2 years.
Yes, sir.
You went to medical school, but you chose not to practice. How'd you come to work for the FBI?
Such circumstances may force us to look at things from an entirely new angle.
Sorry, nobody down here but the FBI's most unwanted.
Agent Mulder, I'm Dana Scully. I've been assigned to work with you.
Oh, isn't it nice to be suddenly so highly regarded?
Before we can make progress in any new venture, we'll first have to learn from our failures. Harder still is to learn from our successes.
My guest tonight is author and theologian Palmer Joss. He's become a spiritual counselor of sorts and a recent fixture at the White House. God's diplomat, according to the New York Times. His latest book, Losing Faith, is currently #1 on that publication's bestseller list. Thanks for being with us, Palmer. You have had quite a ride this last couple of years.
Yeah, I sure have, Larry.
Fish,
you know what
I was thinking
about me personally.
Who would...
Before truth can reveal itself, we may be forced to confront a determined opposition.
I think it's because we're looking for the meaning. Well, what is the meaning? We have mindless jobs. We take frenetic vacations, deficit finance trips to the mall to buy more things that we think are going to fill these holes in our lives. I mean, is it any wonder that we've lost our sense of direction?
Worldviews often collide when people are confronted with an emerging reality. Bridging differences means more than just sacrificing one notion for another. It means a fundamental change in perspective.
The rumors are flying, the implications extraordinary. This morning's detection of an unidentified radio source from deep space can neither be confirmed nor denied. But the military...
Sources close to the BLA report that the planet Earth has indeed been contacted by some form of intelligent being living outside of our solar system. Again, there is no confirmation that whatsoever.
The most powerful kind of bridging requires that we confront unresolved issues found deep down in the hidden depths of our psyches.
There is an ancient Indian saying that something lives only as long as the last person who remembers it. My people have come to trust memory over history. Memory, like fire, is radiant and immutable. While history serves only those who seek to control it, those who would douse the flame of memory in order to put out the dangerous fire of truth. Beware these. The buzzard is a large but cowardly bird. It does not work for its prey, letting others provide the kill. When I see them circling in the desert, this can only mean that something has died and they are going to pick its bones, or that death is close and they are waiting for it to do its work for them.
Resolving depth issues makes it possible to look past the surface into possibilities otherwise unperceived.
Something's happening. There's a light. Do you see that? Something. I can't tell whether it's daylight or not. There it is again. It's coming from the bottom. Here, let me show it to you. Do you see that?
Negative. Ellie, you're breaking up. Round 1, can we boost our signal?
Ready at maximum. 65%. The material is changing. It's...
Got video on Ellie, 5x5.
She's through. She is in the net.
She's alive. Get
Nice. You got any data? Apathy, moving to position. Get her out.
How is she?
Ellie, this is Control. Do you copy?
I don't know. Hang on. She is alive.
Put her on the PA.
Sir.
Ellie, just hold on tight. We're still trying to determine the nature of...
Is it possible that the only way to arrive at truth is to experience it for ourselves?
That's right! Keep recording! That's right! Celestial event. No words. No words to describe poetry.
Grasping something new and different forces us to gather as much insight as possible, then think things through with depth, clarity, and self-honesty. Meanwhile, if you have had a profoundly different life experience, it makes sense to live with such integrity that others can get what you're about.
Why shouldn't I work for the NSA? It's a tough one, but I'll take a shot. Say I'm working at the NSA and somebody puts a code on my desk, something no one else can break. Maybe I take a shot at it, and maybe I break it, and I'm real happy with myself because I did my job well. But maybe that code was the location of some rebel army in North Africa or the Middle East, and once they have that location, they bomb the village where the rebels are hiding. 1,500 people that I never met, never had no problem with, get killed. Now the politicians are saying, oh, send in...
Living the truth honestly means accepting the fact that not everyone shares the same way of looking at things.
What is it you want?
Before I ask you to be honest with me, perhaps I should be completely honest with you.
What happened?
What time is it?
Just 12.
We shall be here for a little while. About 30 minutes.
Well, we can try pushing the other buttons.
They won't work. Tell all power's been cut off everywhere, with a few exceptions. And even these exceptions are remarkable. Hospitals, planes in flight, that sort of thing. I wish I could give you more information, but as you know, all communications are out. Telephones, radio, cable, everything.
Where are you going now?
Back to the boarding house. I'll be safe there for the afternoon. I can keep an eye on Bobby. He's the only other person who knows anything about what
No, wait a minute. There's someone else.
Who?
Tom. He was there last night when Bobby told me what he saw.
Do you think he'd tell anyone?
Well, I think he'd talk to me first anyway before... Oh, we can't take any chance. I'll get in touch with him right away to make sure.
Just walked in.
Oh, fine.
Are you nervous, too?
Yes, I am, Margaret.
Oh, Helen, come on in.
Tom, I've been trying to get you all afternoon.
I have some terrific news about your friend, Mr. Carpenter.
What about him?
Helen, he's the man from the spaceship. I had that diamond checked at 3 different places. Nobody's ever seen a stone like that. After what Bobby told us, that's enough for me. Why is it nobody knows anything about him? Why hasn't he got any money?
Living with integrity means seeking out those with whom you can work successfully to bring the truth to light.
Oh, come in. The professor's in his study.
Thank you.
This is the man you wanted to see, Professor.
Thank you, Captain.
I'll wait outside.
You wrote this?
It was a clumsy way to introduce myself. But I understand you're a difficult man to see. I thought you'd have the solution.
You may or may not be the first person to realize an emerging truth, but you can still play a role in helping others come to grasp it.
quavers, then pause.
She sent us 4 quavers, a group of 5 quavers, a group of 4 semi-quavers.
Once the truth emerges, you and you alone will be responsible for what you experience and how you respond.
Monsieur Nery, I envy you.
If you could get in touch with ET's experience, what's your sense of how well you would be received on our backwater planet?
To me, absolute truth, like perfected musicianship, is a lifelong attempt to achieve the unattainable. The 30 film clips seen in this brief video reveal a lifelong process of realization. Each clip and associated glyph shows us a part of a process that leads from ignorance to full-blown understanding. The first clip shows a young woman running through the woods in a panic. She is driven by an overwhelming sense of peril. We end with the ascent of a luminous interstellar craft bearing a small contingent of humans into the star-strewn sky. Somewhere between our fleeing female and those fully savvy starship travelers are those of us who are interested in the UFO phenomenon. To even begin such a transformation, we must have already had numerous experiences of the world around us. We must also have become fully aware of the world within us. Most of us are on top of the 5 senses that mediate between our inner awareness and outer reality. We've also been educated to one degree or another by the schools and colleges of our day. We've been coached to one degree or another by religious and philosophical leaders in notions of faith and belief. If well-founded in our psyches, we found a way to bridge between the hard facts of science and the soft realities of faith. If such a psychic bridge has not been built, it's likely that any efforts to plumb the unknown will leave us unhinged. A lesser few of us have gone on to tackle challenging problems relating to the inadequacies of our cultural inheritance. Such problems are often based on our politically and religiously biased educational systems. We may also have dealt with issues of tradition that bind us to a past that no longer serves our needs. Later, we may have gone on to a fair sense of what we are about, even if the rest of the world hasn't. It's only once we've arrived at this stage, secure in the self, that we're ready to take a step out into the unknown. To do so, we'll have to show some very real courage and initiative. What we lack in courage and initiative, however, may be made up for by a compelling drive from deep within ourselves. Or like Dana Scully in The X-Files, necessity may be the only thing required to propel us forward. Later, with continued efforts to succeed, lessons are learned and we begin to hone our skills along the lines of our chosen path. Whether driven by initiative, necessity, or compelling faith, we will ultimately arrive at an impasse. That impasse takes 2 forms. The first reflects on a higher level the gap between our worldly education and articles of faith. The second barrier later follows as we run up against the wall created by our own sense of self-importance. The first impasse is overcome when we learn to look at things both objectively and subjectively at the same time. The ego barrier can be overcome by accepting the fact that our role in the scheme of things is actually quite small. Once we resolve the basic issues of motivation and ambition, who knows, maybe we can play a role in the greater scheme of things. In our film clip series, we hint at Fox Mulder's death and rebirth, leaving him a deeply changed man. We also see two views of Ellie Arroway's powerful submergence into and emergence from things cosmical. One view is purely objective. Her dropship plunges with great timing through the whirling electromagnetic gyres into baptismal waters. To the objective eye, the whole sequence is filled with sound and fury, signifying nothing. To her objective mind's eye, Ellie travels through a series of wormholes where cosmical vistas of interstellar grandeur are revealed. Hollywood, and film in general, plays a fabulous role in bridging between such objective and subjective realities. But the successful investigator of things unknown must somehow marshal their own imagination to create a sense of cinematic rapport. In our film clip series, we take a break from E.T. to have a closer look at the kind of person who might measure up to a challenge such as Ellie's. In Good Will Hunting, our protagonist displays extraordinary talent for mathematics and beyond. Will Hunting demonstrates an uncanny ability to synthesize vast amounts of information holographically. Such holographic insight and outlook is absolutely essential in order to definitively plumb otherworldly and extraterrestrial realities. Meanwhile, no amount of sheer intelligence is capable of understanding realities that are merely conjectural in nature. At some point, a questing mind must have access to direct phenomenological experience in order to draw accurate conclusions regarding the nature of things E.T. A hand reaching up must touch another reaching down before truth can ever fully reveal itself. Until direct experience is had, all an investigator can do is formulate a hypothesis and look for real-world validation. Due to the inordinate number of UFO events occurring on our planet, my own hypothesis tends towards the supernatural. Our brains work electromagnetically. By way of thought projection or technological manipulation, the occipital lobes can be influenced to make us see things not present physically. In some small minority of cases, actual physical craft may visit the Earth. These may be verified by the very few. Finally, the bulk of the craft are not extraterrestrial, but are the terrestrial byproducts of an earlier advanced culture on Earth. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a musician trying to put a few notes and chords together listenably.
President Bill Clinton is here. If I was president, the first thing I would do after putting my hand on that Bible and taking that oath to serve the country is I wouldn't even probably finish the oath. I would run to the White House. I demand to see all the classified files on the UFOs. Because I want to know. I'd want to know what has been going on. Did you do that?
Sort of. If you were visited someday, I wouldn't be surprised. I just hope that it's not like Independence Day, a conflict.
Well, now we have friendly
Maybe the only way to unite this incredibly divided world of ours. Think of how all the differences among people on Earth would seem small if we felt threatened by a space invader. That's the whole theory of independence.
You're right.
Everybody gets together and makes nice, and, you know.
You and Bill O'Reilly would be hiding in a bunker together.